What's up, amigos? Commander Jaime here today. I have a special interview today with a good friend of mine named Dustin. Dustin, do you want to say hi?
Yep. Hi, I'm Dustin Southé from Next Level Gaming. Good to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, my man. I'm so happy for you because, I think we've known each other for at least over 5 years, and it's always good to see
Oh,
friends
geez.
do tops. And I think this is one of your more recent tops. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the last 2 days, but yeah, prior to that, it's been a while. So, the last times I actually had a top or had a chance to do anything like this was ARGs, and those have been
Oh,
shut
yeah.
down for I don't know, at least 3 years or so. They've been shut down.
Yeah. Plus, COVID threw a wrench in
Yeah.
that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So definitely, so that's always cool. And so, today you topped in V Premium. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, with Bermuda Triangle.
Awesome. Would you call it a Lupina Melody, or what would you call your deck?
Yeah, so I've been calling it Lupina Melody, but apparently that's been giving the wrong impression of what the deck does,
Mm,
because a lot of people seem to think that I'm running Plan, but I'm just running Lupina and the Melody support cards.
gotcha. And there's so many ways that you can build Bermuda. So it's just like,
Oh yeah,
what do you call it? Sometimes. So that's really
yeah,
cool. I'll put the deck list too, so people can see it throughout the video. I'll just
mhm.
start off where you're from a little bit. I know people kind of get an idea that we know from each other, so we're from the area. But do you want to go a little more into that?
Yeah, of course. So I'm located a few hours south of Chicago, basically. A little too far to travel up there on a weekly basis, but close enough that I can come up there on for big things like BCS and stuff. Um, we got a little shop down here called Enchantment Alley, and there's a good little showing. Actually, some of the other people that go there was Terry, who he
Nice.
was top 8 in Premium.
Yep.
Uh, with you, yeah,
Yep.
basically. And he goes to the same shop, and we got a few people from the Next Level Gaming group that are down there, so it's a good little place.
That's really cool. It's always good to hear local communities, even though you got to drive a little bit to the city or the next BCS event. But it's always good to see other people just having their own locals and then coming out for big events and seeing success. That's super
Hmm.
awesome. Awesome. What are some things in terms of preparation that you did for the event? Like maybe something like practicing matchups or even metagame expectations. You want to elaborate a little more on that too?
Yeah, so I actually have a funny little story.
Sure.
Um, so prior to the tournament, I was driving up there.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't really done much prep other than we had shop challenges,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was a chance for me to see what local people were playing meta wise. And there was no Steam Maidens
Mm-hmm.
at locals, and so I actually didn't understand that Steam Maidens was a thing or what they did. I'd heard about them, but on the drive up, the people from the Next Level Gaming group are like, "Hey, you should watch out for this. This is gonna murder you." And I'm like, "Okay, what does it do?" So they gave me like a quick 10-minute rundown of what the deck
Wow.
basically does,
Mhm.
and that was my only knowledge going into the tournament.
Mhm.
But other than that, though, I mean, I just play test a lot against friends. I probably should have done more in terms of
Mm.
proxying really meta decks and things like that, but I actually didn't in this particular case.
No, it's all good. I mean, sometimes you don't know everything, and sometimes we have life, so you could only do so
Mhm.
much and so much time that we have. I guess what made you pick Bermuda of all decks, and what was like the winning image? Because I think some people don't even know how Lupina works in general.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know what the card effect does. I probably had, I would say, maybe only one or two of my opponents didn't ask what the card does. All the rest of them were like, "What does that do?" you know, they
Yeah.
hadn't seen it in so long. But yeah, so as far as winning image goes,
Mhm.
really the idea is you get Lupina down on center circle. You have to have that. If you don't get that, you basically lose anyways.
Mhm.
And then you fill up all your rearguard circles with melody units. It doesn't matter what kind of melody units; they just got to be melody.
Mhm.
And then swing with them all. Really, so to explain the
Mhm.
effect a little bit, Lupina, when she's placed, you get a marker like normal,
Yep.
and then use her effect, and you look at the top 7, and you actually get a second. You call a unit out, and you get a second force marker.
Gotcha.
So what you do is you get the 2 front row rear guard circles.
Mm.
You swing with both of those. Your vanguard then swings. You counterblast 1. You restand those 2 units, and then you swing with the whole board. So it's got a lot of. I mean, it's not that many attacks. Obviously, Steam Maidens gets like 9 plus,
Something
something
crazy.
like that. Yeah, something crazy. I only get 5.
5
But
solid
the 5
attacks.
swings that I get are very solid, very strong. And I usually almost always go force 2. There's like a couple cases where I go force 1.
Ooh. So you always do force 2?
Pretty much always
Oh,
force 2,
okay.
yeah, because I should be getting really big numbers on both side columns.
Gotcha.
I can talk about that if you want me to go in more detail on
Yeah,
on
however
when
you
to
want to
go
flow.
force 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So really, the breakpoint for me is depending on how many melody units you have in hand.
Yep.
If I'm able to reach a total of about 25 to 35k on each side column, single attacks without the boost, if I can get to that number, yeah, then you get a bunch of them. But if I can get to at least that amount, then I will go force 2. Because I'm swinging with crit with big enough that they have to use they have to
good
use
amount of guard.
A good amount of guard for every single swing. But if I can't get to there, usually it only happens when I have like 3 melody units or less. There's potential that I would go force 1, and then if I go force 1, I would make sure that my Dagny is on rearguard circle, force marker, because then my Vanguard gets crit, and so then everything has crit.
That's insane.
Or I'm sorry, at least the Vanguard has crit in that case.
Right.
And then I would be able to maybe get a trigger or something, you know.
Wow, that's insane, because like every attack is at least crit too at that point.
Yeah, so the typical amount of attacks is going to be like about 30k. Vanguard usually swings pretty low, maybe 30k total. Honestly, for Vanguard, that's pretty low for the most part. And then my rearguards restand, and then I'm swinging with boost. So usually I'm like in the 70-ish k range.
Holy crap!
So it's like 30, 30, 30, and then 70, 70. You know. That's pretty good.
That is really good. I mean, with Lupina's skill, she reminds me of the Stride Lambros back in ERAH. You swing and you restand 2 rearguards, but like the numbers are ridiculous, and then you have crit pressure on top of that. And if you're hitting like 60, 70k, that's Skull Dragon numbers, legit.
Yes.
So you're almost like making up for that in that sense too. What were some other key units in your deck that you wanted to highlight that kind of help with that too?
Yeah, so that whole build that I just talked about is like most of the deck, because you have to run, I've got them on my table here, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like 6 or 7 units that are just absolutely mandatory.
Yeah.
You can't run the deck without them.
Okay.
So you only have so many flex slots. What I did was I filled my flex slots with as many cards as I could to make sure that I get Lupina. Because when I was playtesting earlier, I found myself missing Lupina, and I was like, if I don't have Lupina, I have to ride Sonata. And Sonata's ability is kind of not great,
right?
And you get no restands or anything like that. So it was like, I have to get Lupina. So the side units that I'm running is Syria and Sedna.
Yep.
Those are really the 2 like searching cards. Also, to be honest with you, I didn't expect this to be as powerful as it was, but Syria. So she lets you search the top 3 from discarding a card. You look at the top 3, grab a card.
Yep.
But also she gets 10k.
Yep.
When your opponent's on grade 3, she gets 5k if they're on grade 2. So actually the power from her on a rearguard circle when I was short melody units actually came up a few times. I was really surprised that actually mattered. So yeah, that pretty much fills out the deck, to be honest with you. I mean, I read in the 1 copy of Meep because she's one of the best melody units as far as support goes, but you can only run 1 of her, so it's what it is.
Oh, is there a limit restriction or what?
Yeah, it's actually restricted to 1.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, she's limited, sadly.
Gotcha.
She's too good, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I don't play Bermuda as much, so I kind of know what to expect from it, but not like what to go into a build. For me, to have any relatability, I have Prisms in Premium. That's it.
Okay.
So I have that.
Yeah, Prisms would never run this card. So.
Right, and it's also a little bit different in Premium because there's some of the old ERAH cards or Limit Break era cards, actually even older.
Yeah.
But I noticed too with your build, you're playing like 12 crits.
Oh yeah, it's 12 crit. 100% crit health.
What made you go that way instead of like at least having some draws?
Okay, so what made me choose that was that when I was running PGs of any kind that were normal, not the crit sentinels, I found myself always in a situation where like I was like, okay, I can block their attack, but I have to sacrifice a melody unit. And I hated doing that. It was the worst feeling in the world. I was like, okay, I can block all this, but my next turn is now dead, basically.
Oh, okay.
So I did not want to discard a card. So I said, I'm all right. I'm just going to run Sentinel crits. The crit is also pretty nice because I am trying to, if you don't understand the basic concept of the deck, I am trying to basically kill them before they get to their big combo.
I see.
So a lot of these decks that I fought against, in a lot of my matches, I was one of the first people to stand up and be like, "Hey, judge, I'm done." You know,
That's cool.
because it was just that quick. You know.
What was your opponents like? Did they realize it too late? Basically, that you were running a lot of crits, and then just the sheer power of that, they weren't expecting that.
They didn't realize I was going to get restands and crit and power, and you know, a lot of them were reading the effects as we were going, adding up the numbers as we were going, and then once they realized what was coming, they're like, "Oh no."
Gotcha. So they're probably taking
yeah,
unnecessary damage, right? Early on.
Yeah. So early on, if I can get them to 2 damage, that's all I have to get them to is 2 damage. Because everything's gonna have crit after that point. So 1 hit would go to 4, and then 1 hit goes to 6.
Yeah.
So and also I should mention too, luckily none of my opponents healed out of any of that.
Wow.
One opponent. Yeah, I thought that. I was surprised about it too. I had one opponent though that went from 1, and then they took a crit damage after that, and then they healed 1. So they still ended up at 2. So I was like, okay, all right, that's fine. But if they had healed from 0 to to basically just 1 with 2 damage, I would have been like, oh no, because that means I got to hit with 1 more attack.
That's true.
But that worked out pretty good though.
No, that's really good, because like sometimes like you go in there, people are not expecting that, and then it's just sometimes they take the unnecessary damage, and that's what you want. So you get the multiples of 2, and it's a lot easier for you to like really put the pressure on and then just win on top of that. With I guess besides the Steam Maidens, like, were your expectations of the metagame pretty valid in the day of, or did you feel like it was a lot of variety that you weren't expecting for yourself?
So I'll just go through my mashups.
Yeah,
that'll be
cool.
the most
Go for it.
obvious thing here.
Yeah.
So my very first matchup was against Angel Feather.
Okay.
And it was a really interesting deck. Unfortunately, he did have some like, he didn't have enough units to actually put on the table at one point to be able to do all the intercept blocking. I think he might have won if he had been able to do the extra intercepts.
I see.
Because he almost blocked it all, but he was short 1 intercept with the Protect 2.
Yeah.
So there was that one. Next I played against Narukami. And they did the whole like lock stuff and everything, and against them I was kind of chuckling on the inside, because I'm like okay, I don't really, it doesn't matter to me if you kill all these non-melody units. I was just like, I don't care about them. And he took me to like 4 or 5 damage right away, and I'm like, I also don't care about that. And then I came back with a full field of melody and was like, all right, here we go. Then my 3rd round I played against Golds. And they won the dice roll, and they got all the attacks I lost. And it's just, I don't know, that's just how the meta is. Like, I don't think there's any amount of shield I could have put in my deck to be able to survive all of that.
Fair enough.
But round 4 I played against Steam Maidens, and I was like, okay, here's the deck that's gonna murder me. And I went into it, and somehow he didn't kill me on his first grade 3 ride, and then I just went in and returned the favor. So that one, it's just how it goes. Then I had 2 really simple matches. It was DIs that I killed them on grade 2, and then Neo Nectar rushed me, and then I killed them on grade 2. So those were like super fast matches. I was like, wow, this is just going great. Let's just keep rolling it. And then I played against Great Nature, and that was actually the
ironic.
deck I wanted to take. Yeah. So actually, I forgot to mention all that. So actually, I was intending to take Great Nature, but the cards didn't come in soon enough. So I ended up taking this Bermuda deck that actually I should say. So this deck I played in the team league in spring.
Oh, okay.
This is almost identical to what I played at that time, and at that time I actually went X0, although my team didn't.
Gotcha.
It's one of those kind of situations. So I was like, the deck is pretty good. And it was based on a deck list I had seen from, I think I had seen a video from Outer Orange about it, and I had seen a video from WCC with some silly stuff about it, and nobody had really put it together and actually made it competitive, at the time at least. So anyway, so my backup deck was this deck because I didn't have the cards to run Great Nature. I'd love to see Great Nature do good. So I went to play. I played against Great Nature, and he actually got the dice roll. Which I was afraid of because I'm like, okay, he's gonna swing with a lot of stuff. I know what's coming. I knew the deck really well. I think I had just enough guard in hand, minus the melody units, to be able to block it all. And then I came back with the kill. Then round eight was a Steam Maidens again. That one, I think that they, if I remember correctly, they won the dice roll and just took me out of the water. Honestly, I mean that's just how the deck goes. Then we cut to top 8, and I played against Steam Maidens again. That one was against Outer Orange, and sadly she had I won the dice roll, and sadly she didn't have the guard in hand to be able to stop my attack.
Oh, you're the one that faced Orange.
Yes.
And knocked her out. Oh, okay. I interview her in a couple of days too, so she might mention you.
Oh no. Yeah, she'll definitely mention this matchup. She got pretty unlucky. She had a bunch of grade 3s in hand. I had all these 70k swings, and she was just like, I gotta take it, you know. And that's just how it went.
Yeah.
And then next cut from top 8, next round in top 8 was also Steam Maidens. If you didn't know, there was 5 Steam Maidens in top 8.
Oh yeah. I saw the pie charts.
A ton of Steam Maidens. Oh my god, there's so many Steam Maidens. That one, they won the dice roll. They got their whole combo off. You know, it's a little unfortunate, but that's just how the game is right now, how the meta is.
Yeah.
And then my final chance to get an invite was against Golds, and I was seriously 5k away from blocking it all. But I needed to take one defensive trigger. I went from 1 to 6 with no defensive triggers, and I was like, well, that's just how it goes, I guess.
Gotcha. Wow.
So that was how the day went.
That was a quick run. It sounded like you said, like you would just finish pretty early and then you just have the rest of the round. So I like that because like I think like Bushiroad, the Rumble Line event back in 2021, back when like Premium was still not in check. It was like that with Fanware when they had Taro. So I would just finish people in like 15 minutes. Either I win or I lose quickly. So and it's exactly for the same concept. So and it helps a lot because like you save a lot of your mental energy. So that way you can just focus on the other things that matter. And I think you did great too. I mean, sometimes the simplest winning image is really what's really effective. And you might as well just roll with it too. Yep. So awesome. I guess, you know, after the event was over, did you take some time to celebrate with your friends or maybe take some like reflection, or maybe did you learn something from the event? Anything like that?
So I'll say what we did right afterwards. So,
sure.
I mean, I didn't get out of the event until like 9 o'clock, you know?
Wow.
Or 8 o'clock or something like that. It was pretty late. And I was like, all right, I'm exhausted. And my whole team was exhausted. But we were like, okay, let's go celebrate. Let's go get tacos. I don't know. So we went and got tacos. And then tacos I had to drive 3 hours to get home. So I had a miserable drive right after that.
Was it the tacos or were you just exhausted?
Oh, I was just exhausted. But what was nice about it though was I drove that far and I was like, okay, this is the time to reflect on what's happened and you know, future events and stuff like that. One of the big topics that came up was, hey, well, do you want to go to another BCS and see if you can get an invite? And there's a lot of life things in the way of that right now.
Right.
But I wish I could. I really wish I could. So that was one topic that came up. But as far as like learnings from the deck, and changes that maybe could have been made to make things better. I'm running 3 copies of Lusarios.
Okay.
And she's the one that gets 5k power or 5k shield.
Yes, I saw that card.
I'm running her because I was just like, I need as much defense as I possibly can.
I see.
But I found that she didn't really come up very much.
Okay.
To me, she ended up becoming basically a 10k shield in hand. Because the only times I was about to die was when my opponent went first, and then she doesn't even get her effect anyways.
Oh, fair enough.
So I probably could have replaced her.
Yeah, because you haven't ridden grade 3 at that point, so you're not any force gifts, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so I could have probably replaced her with something else, but at the same time, I don't even know what I would have put in. I guess Ellie. I don't know. That's probably
Yeah.
about it.
I mean, there's the grade researchers. I think you're only playing a couple, right?
Playing 2 of those. So yeah, I could have put more of those in, but I never missed Lupina. So I
Yeah.
mean,
You could also get the grade 3 heals with them, so you can survive a little easier.
yeah, there's a lot of options there for sure.
So
So that's the one flex spot, I would say.
yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense too. Typically what I like to do to kind of like wrap up the interview is like essentially what is, a tip for players to take away? And what is something in your eyes that you feel holds back players from maybe topping events? And what would you recommend to help them get through that?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this because I saw that on your question thing, and I think the biggest advice I can give other people is so with my deck,
Yep.
I've been playing this for a year and a half now at this point.
Solid.
This pretty much this exact build.
Yep.
So you get to the point where you know every card, you know every effect of your deck, you know. So in the tournament, every single round, I play my field, I do my thing. After that, I put my hand down, and it's my opponent's turn. I know what's in my hand. I'm just looking at their field.
Yeah.
And paying attention to what the opponent is doing and not having to get struggled over your own cards is
Yeah.
pretty much like the #1 thing. Like you really need to be able to get to that point. And that's something you can just do by just playing more. You don't even have to play against meta decks. You just play against anything.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, no, that's really
That's
good.
my #1 thing.
Because sometimes people play a deck, but they don't play it to know it well enough, and sometimes they had to second guess themselves in the tournament, which is not good. I'm sure from the way that you talked, I can tell you basically had it muscle memory wise, and you just knew what to do at that point. So you play this, I know to guard with this, so I could do this next turn. Like those are the things that definitely people need to have because like there's only so much time in the tournament. What did you guys get for V Premium time wise? Do you remember?
I forgot how long the rounds were.
You finished so quick, it didn't matter.
I finished so quick. I knew I was never going to run into that scenario.
That's a good point. That's another way to go around it. That's funny. But yeah, sometimes people go into time, and then sometimes people call you out for slow play. Things like that come up. So thanks for even mentioning that. It's sometimes like some people can hear that and it's just like, well, that sounds simple. Well, like, well, how well do you do it, right?
It's harder than you think.
It is.
It really is, especially like if you're trying like because there was one year where I took I had swapped decks last minute to try and play something more meta. I didn't do that this year. I did it last year or whatever. And I came to the tournament with like only half knowledge of my own cards.
Ouch.
And I was like, oh boy, all right, I'm reading my own stuff as well as trying to read their stuff, and it's just not gonna work.
It's a bad time.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way in my first Yu-Gi-Oh regional tournament, and I made modifications that were major, and I'm like reading my cards, and it's just a bad day. It's frustrating.
Oh yeah.
One of the things I mentioned too is that there's the platform Metafy, which is a coaching platform to help other players. Would you recommend Metafy for other players to improve their skill level?
Yeah, so personally, I mean, I have a lot of friends. My little group that I've got, and we all kind of bounce the ideas off each other, and we work together. I think for people that don't have that, they should look at something like that. Because I literally would not have known that Steam Maidens was a thing if I didn't have my friends telling me, "Hey, look out for this," and that definitely is an aspect of it. And I've noticed that at least in the Vanguard community, there is a lot of high-end meta play that is not necessarily public. You can't really find it,
Right.
So talking to people, bouncing ideas off, and talking about combos and other decks combos is a pretty big deal.
I saw the cat come out. I was like, "Oh, that's cute."
Yeah, I know. I was like,
I have a cat too. But yeah, so you said that there was like almost no resources to find metagame competitiveness content. Is that what you're saying, right?
There's plenty out there. The question is like, how deep does it go? I mean, like for example, like you can see that there's a meta deck, Steam Mains. You look up, you're like, oh, meta, that's the meta deck right now.
Right.
But you don't know what it does until you play against somebody who actually knows the deck. So the only way to really do that is to play test with a friend and have them just play it, and then they learn it while you learn to fight against it. But it takes a lot of rounds before the two of you get to the point where you're both playing at a
sufficient level. Yeah.
So it takes time, and that's something that you can kind of bypass a lot of that with knowledge from people that really know what they're talking about and what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense too, because like you only know so much, and your friends only know so much too. So if you have access to other people through Metafy, that's super helpful, and just in itself. I've had people, funny enough, I had people this past month actually book sessions with me just to practice against ripples. So
That is so funny.
yeah, and so I actually had to tell people how to beat ripples, and I found out even my own self how I would lose.
Yep.
In that
You're
matchup.
like, oh man, I don't have anything to do against this, you know?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, like at least more than half of them were Narukami players too. So yeah, I'm like, I think you'll be good, but yeah, let's let me help you out. But it's super key, just that knowledge too, because ultimately you want to see success in the tournaments too. So I guess the last thing to say, do you have any shout outs that you want to make?
Yeah, so I want to give a shout out to Drew Smith. He last minute gave me a set of sleeves
Nice.
For the deck check, and the judge actually was like, "Hey, you need to re-sleeve this," and I'm like, "Oh, all right, here we go."
Yep.
So what was nice was I was able to pull a brand new set out and said, "Okay, here comes the foil. It's coming off right now. All right, let's do this." You know. So yeah, big shout out to him, and of course the rest of the Next Level Gaming group. I wouldn't have even known what Steam Maidens were until they killed me. Had not been for them.
No, that's super awesome. Cool. Awesome. Where can people find you? Are you active on Twitter or any social media?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter as Voxian. It's VOXIAN. I don't usually post Vanguard stuff, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll start doing that.
Definitely you're missing out, because Twitter is the place to be for Vanguard content in general.
Yeah, I've noticed that now.
Yeah, so I'll put your links in the description so people can find you easily. All they have to do is just click on there too. Awesome. With that being said, thanks again for hopping on the interview. It's great to see you top again. I remember the last time, literally a couple years ago before COVID happened, I remember when you got topped at the ERAH events over here in Chicago. So when I heard you topped again, I was like, that's my man, Dustin. Got it in again. Awesome. Next time you'll get to Worlds. So I'm excited for you once you get to that point too as well. Awesome, my man. So,
thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Anything else to say, or are you pretty much done as well?
No, I think that's about it for now.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, amigos. This is Commander Jaime, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.